Hi, I'm Rachel, and today we're going to be canning smoked brisket. Now, my husband and I smoked brisket last week, and what I did is I just cut it up and put it in plastic bags and stuck it in the freezer until I could get to it to can it. So you will need a pressure canner. I am not a Rebel canner, I'm a pressure canner. So you make sure that if you don't have one of the ones that locks down like I don't have, that it has a dial on it and a steam vent, and that all of your working parts, turn it where you can see that this, look through the hole right here. Make sure that you can see all the way through it so it's not clogged up. You will need a canning funnel. You will need jars, clean, and you will need lids, and you will need rings. You'll also need like a chopstick or something like that. You'll need a water source, and you'll need vinegar. Okay, so first things first. This is the bag of brisket. So I cut it up into chunks. I didn't want this camera too close because I didn't want the steam to make it nasty in there. So you're just going to take a jar. Now, whether or not you do pint jars, half pint jars, quart jars, whatever it is that you do, the process is going to be the same, but the timing will change. So what I do is I shove it down into the jar, and I want to cram pack that as much as possible. Okay, so that's one. Two. If you need to chop it a little bit more, you can. It doesn't really matter. It's total preference. Now this was a big old 16-pound brisket that we got for like $30-something. Okay. So you're just trying to put as much meat in it as possible and kind of shove it down to where it's below this. I hope you can see this. Sorry about that. My son's cat is meowing to be let back in the room. So I like it with the brisket fat on it. The the fat to me, because my husband and I eat carnivore, so this is a great way for us to have meat on demand. So instead of having to smoke a brisket or whatever, ribs, I've done ribs like this. Um, you can smoke pork butt and shred it and put it in the jars. We do that a lot. But it's just to where you have meat on demand. So what I like to do with this is take sour cream and cheese and heat this, dump it out, heat it up if I want. I'll drain all the liquid from it usually because it's just water that I'm going to add. And then you dump it out, you heat it up, put all the toppings on it that you want, and to me it tastes like a smoked baked potato. We love it. So I'm going to fit as much as this will fit, and we'll see if we have any left over. If we do, then I may do another canning video and add it to like pinto beans or something like that. So let me finish this up and then I'll be right back. Okay, so we got everything but like one little hunk left. So I will save that back and put that in pinto beans, which is amazing when you eat like smoked beans. Okay, so you can see that the rims are really greasy and dirty. So what we do is we take a paper towel and our vinegar, and start getting some of that off of there. We are going to add water to these jars, so you'll probably have to do this again. But this to me just assures that I'm not getting it so funky. Okay. So this is 10 jars. Now I have a 16 quart canner, pressure canner, not cooker, canner. It's the only thing that's going to work in that. Because you can cook in a canner, but you can't can in a cooker. Just kind of make sure everything is shoved down in there as well as you can get it. And then for pressure canning for myself, I don't know if anyone else does it, but I do not add water to it until I have all my jars in it. So this is a cold canner. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to fill it all the way to about here with liquid. Now you can use water, that's what I'm going to use, or you can even use like beef broth, or if you wanted to do chicken broth you could. It doesn't matter. The pressure canning time is the same. And if I wanted to add beans, like dried beans, to a jar with water and all that, it would still be 75 minutes. So a lot of times if I don't fill the canner with all meat, then, if I have like this, a little piece left over, then I will fill another jar and add like a half a cup of dried pinto beans and add the meat into it, and it all cooks at the same time in the canner. So we want to get our canning funnel. Let's do it back here. I moved that camera thinking it would be a little bit easier. Let's try that. So, just fill this up. So we just want to pour our liquid in. And this is just water out of the faucet. Then I want to take a chopstick or something like that. They make little canning things, and I just kind of want to move it around and get any air pockets out. You see the air pockets? This helps, I guess it kind of helps with siphoning. And what siphoning is when everything starts getting heated up in the jar, and then it starts being pulled out from the pressure in the canner, and the liquid inside the jar starts coming out. So if you have air pockets in there, you're going to have that more often than not. So, and then you will make sure that that rim is grease-free. So, more vinegar. Really wipe that rim down really well. And then we take the lid. They make it to where you don't have to heat these up anymore, which I like, because that was more energy than what I wanted to use. And then we want to place our lid on. Now, we don't want to get the wrist involved to really tighten them down. We just need them finger tight, okay? So then we'll place that in the canner. Now, your canner, make sure that it has a little rack so that your jars are not sitting on the bottom. I've almost forgotten that before. That's why I mentioned it. So then we want to place that in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to set up the water in the canner. As a canner, you find that you have canning lids everywhere, because I use them pretty much in everyday life. I will add food to, like leftover food or whatever, to mason jars. And I want those to fit in there, but I don't want them to be there's 10 jars in there. Okay, so this is a Presto canner. So I use my little book. I put my own notes and stuff in it. So I know that for this canner, because I've already looked through it, so I don't have to go searching for it, so I wrote notes. So it's 16 quart. It holds 10 pint jars. And I need 3 quarts of water for pressure canning. So the way I do that is this is a Pyrex. 4 cups equals 1 quart. So I need 3 of these in my canner. And what I like to do is pour it between the jars. Try not to get it on top as much as I can. So that's 1. That's 2. And this will be 3. Now I have in the past added like a little piece up here and stacked like some smaller jars on top, but I won't do that today. But you can see how deep the water is. It comes up to about a little over halfway on the jar. Okay. So, and then you're going to need the vinegar. Just add a little bit to it. That way it kind of helps cut down on any sediment, especially if you live in a hard water area. It will help keep that funky film off. Okay. So our next step is to center that. Okay. And then we're going to put our lid down. On this side, it has an arrow here and an arrow here. So what you want to do is to lock it. So that's how you know that you have it locked the way it should be locked. So then we turn on our fire. And then I like to start off with like a medium heat. I don't know if you can see that. A medium heat. And then what we'll do is we let this start heating up. This little vent right here will start shooting up steam. And then when it starts shooting up steam, we will time that steam coming out of there for 10 minutes. I'm not a fan of my son's cats. But this will start heating up, and what it does is it will get the temperature in the jars, the liquid inside, the food inside. It all has to come up to a specific temperature. So then when you start putting your weight on it, which let me get that. Okay, so this is a canning weight. Okay, so that one's 2-piece. So because of where I live in Texas, my canning weight for everything that I pressure can is at 10 pounds. Other parts of the country, it might only be 5 pounds of pressure. This makes it 10 pounds. Other places may be 15 pounds. There's another ring that goes onto this that makes this a 15-pound pressure, which means that the pressure inside gets up to 10 pounds of pressure. So imagine that 10 pounds of pressure being exploded outwards. So after this vents for 10 minutes, you can't even see that. After this doohickey right here vents for 10 minutes, then I can put my weight on. I'll come back and show you how to do that. So while this canner is heating up, I just want to take a moment to say that don't be scared of pressure canning, okay? So when you're pressure canning, the ones now back in the day, I would probably be a little bit more leery if I took an old canner, but the ones that they make now have a whole bunch of safety mechanisms built into them. So you're not canning like the old style where they had them blow up and things like that. I mean, I'm sure that this could blow if given half a chance, especially if you don't check your seals, you don't, do what the manufacturer says to do. So I just wanted to show you. See if I can get the right angle. Come on, Rachel. So this little thing right here, when the steam starts really building up in there, this will come up, okay? This back here, if something is going wrong with the canner, this will come out. This is like a little rubbery plastic type piece. So this will come out before the whole thing blows up. This little steam vent, that's why you need to can in an actual canner and not can in a pressure steamer or pressure, do you see what I'm saying? Like a canner versus just a pressure pot like they used to have. And then you're also going to be watching this. So when everything starts venting here, this will have a little bit of steam that comes out of it, but not a whole bunch. But you will see this steam for 10 minutes. And then when we put our weight on top of it, sorry y'all, I'm still learning these weird camera angles. When that goes on top of it, then the pressure will build up inside, and then this little doohickey will come up, and it pops right up. And it'll have like a whole bunch of steam and water, and you can kind of wipe that away every so often. But then your pressure starts building. And when it gets built to the 10, which is where I need it, and it'll go a little bit over, and that's not a big deal. as long as it doesn't start going here where it says caution. So your pressure gauge at the 10 will start rocking back and forth. And what it does is it lets out just enough steam to keep this moving. It takes 10 pounds of pressure to rock this back and forth. And so when it's rocking back and forth, and you'll hear it because I'm going to do that video. So when it's rocking back and forth, then it's letting out just enough pressure to keep it at 10. So no one has explained that to me, and I just thought that maybe if you're new at this, you need that explanation of what you're actually doing. So I hope that helps. And while we are waiting for this to build, because it will take quite a while because of how I keep my temperature, I don't want it to get so hot so fast that it doesn't heat the jars, the liquid, and what I have in my jars. So I kind of need to keep it at an even heat. And then as it rises and I get everything set up, I can actually adjust that down even more because the pressure and the heat is so intense inside the canner that I don't need to have higher temperature or higher flame on there. Now I am using propane, and I have done this at my old house on electric, so it does work. Also, I plan on buying a little bit bigger canner that's taller. I lived in an RV for almost like 7 years, and so I didn't think that I would be canning anymore, but I love it. I miss it so much. So I had to go get a smaller one because this canner was the only one that would fit under my RV stove. So I do want, I think it's a 32 quart, I believe, or 64, I don't remember. Anyway, so it's way higher. It would be like probably hitting about here. So I could get a whole nother layer of jars, so I could actually do double this. And I do plan on doing that. Or I could get another one of these and just do 2 at the same time. I mean, it's just really preference. So anyway, so I'll see you back here again whenever the steam is starting to steam. So it turns out I'm really bored waiting on this thing to heat up. So I wanted to show you the different things that you can can for yourself. So this is beef broth. It's something that I canned last year. I've used a couple of them. I haven't used a whole bunch. But I got this from like cooking a roast or something like that. So this is roast and peppers. So I took like jarred peppers, can't remember what kind, and added it into like chunks of raw roast, and then I filled the rest up with water. You can see that this did siphon a little bit, but that looks dried and funky. I don't know if you can see it, probably not with the camera. It looks dried up and nasty and funky, but it's still very tender, very moist, and it is not bad. So this white stuff is the layer of fat that was in that particular roast. Okay, so this is pulled pork. So what we did is we smoked a pork butt, and then I shredded it, and it's seasoned and everything. And then same thing, can it, I add water to it, it's siphoned a little bit, which is fine. It does that with meat a lot. It looks dry and cakey and funky and nasty, but it's not. It's the same as this stuff down here. This is the layer of fat, And as long as your lid is still down, it's good. That's why you don't store them with rings on them. Okay, and then this one is deer meat, like deer shoulder. So it's this cut of meat was actually I want to say we smoked one or tried to smoke one, and it was very, very tough. So that would be perfect because you're putting it under pressure. So you can see that even though it has meat that sticks up, it kind of moved and pushed up above the rim that I filled it, and it siphoned a little bit because the water's lower, it's still fine. Now, with this one, I'm more than likely, which it's been a year, I don't remember exactly what I did, but more than likely I just took the raw meat and threw the peppers in it and canned it like that, because beef and chicken and all that, it will make its own juice. So you don't necessarily have to add water to it. So now we can see, you see the steam starting to come up. I don't know if you can see that. But this needs to get to where it is just a steady stream. And then we start timing it for 10 minutes. I don't know if you can see that. It's a pretty steady stream of steam coming out. So I've got the timer on for 10 minutes, and we'll be back for the next step. Okay, so now we can see that this is a steady stream. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. That might be a good angle. It is a steady stream. This little piece has filled up with water. I like to kind of, that way it doesn't drip down my stove. I have turned the fire down a little bit by little bit. So now what we're going to do is take our weight, our 10 pounds, okay, and we're going to place that on it, okay? So you can see that that pressure is ready. Okay. Okay. So our canning book says, see if I can get this focus. Maybe not. Maybe. Anyway, so we start timing this when that starts rocking. Our book says 75 minutes for meat, so that's an hour and 15 minutes. So once this starts rocking, that means the pressure is up to here, and that's when that will start rocking. Then you know that's when you start timing it for an hour and 15 minutes or 75 minutes. So when that's done, we will turn it all off, and we let it come back down to pressure on its own. We don't do anything extra to it. You'll hear weird noises. It'll kind of freak you out. I've been doing this for, I don't know, a lot of years, and that little noise weirds me out all the time. So you wouldn't be alone in that. You should have a healthy fear of canning. Like, you know, you should always have a healthy fear of even cooking. You don't live in fear, but, you know, you don't live just in oblivion either. So we'll come back once it starts rocking and you can see the temperature gauge. Right now it's still at 0. Okay, and it'll get all the way up to there. And then this will actually move on its own. You'll see that. Now dim the lights a little bit so that you can see that the gauge is up at 10 pounds and this hasn't quite yet started moving yet. So you just have to sit here and watch and wait for it. It'll do it. It kind of has to get past a little bit on that 10 pounds. You see it moving, it's trickling. I don't know if you can see that really well, but it's getting on up there. So right here, straight up and down, is the 10 pounds. Now, this gauge is marked. It has another little dot beside it, which means it's like 11 pounds. So it'll fluctuate between the 10 and the 11, which is fine. It freaked me out a few times whenever I, first started canning and I didn't understand it. This is probably about to start wiggling back and forth, and it'll be really subtle at first. And then as it goes on and, really gets that pressure in there, then you'll see that it actually starts moving on its own. Kind of weird you out a little bit. So I know that this has turned into probably a longer video, but processing food and canning is a long process. It's not just you do it in 10 minutes kind of thing. This is hours long process. Should start moving here in just a minute. Come on, you can do it. Come on, you can do it. And don't let that water coming out and the steam coming out like that freak you out. It's just the way it is. It's fixing to start. There it goes. See it dancing now? Moving on its own. So now we start our timer for an hour and 15 minutes or 75 minutes, however you want to say that. And this will dance a little bit more. It'll get a little bit more vigorous, but it won't be so hard that it falls off or anything like that. So we are going to, see, there we go. Now we're rocking and rolling, literally. And so that dial will fluctuate between that 10 and that 11. All right, so I'll meet you back here when it's time to turn it off. Hour and a half. Or should I say an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, everyone, it's finally time. This is done. So all I do is turn the fire off. That's all you do. Turn the fire off. You will let this drop down to pressure. This will pretty much immediately stop wiggling so much. The pressure will go all the way down. You get it all the way down to 0. This will drop. And then you let it sit at least for another 10 minutes. Take the little weight off of it, and then I let it sit for another 10 minutes, and then I can take the lid off. So we'll show you that in a little bit. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get it to where you can see that once it gets down to 0, which is about where it's at now, this little doohickey will drop down. So what I like to do is take a little bit of that water out. And you can hear it still bubbling. It seems like I'm giving you very minute details and things like that, but when it actually comes down to you hearing it, you doing it yourself, these noises will kind of freak you out a little bit. So I just want you to know that they are absolutely normal and that you shouldn't get freaked out. So I'm going to soak up a little bit of that water. It's still coming out a little bit. And it's just steam. It's, because it's so hot. But once that drops, then I can take this off. Because once this drops, it lets me know that the pressure is gone and I can safely remove this. Then I like to let this sit for another 10 minutes before I open the actual container. And I can hear the jars and stuff in there. So the liquid inside the jars is actually boiling. It's still boiling. It will actually boil for a while even after you take it out of the canner. So just be aware of that as well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that without this video going super uber long and you getting boring. Getting bored watching this. But that will drop. And this suddenly just fell down. Of course, I was off camera. So this means that there's no more pressure in there right now. So I can take the weight off. You see that there's no real steam coming out. And I'm going to let this sit for about 10 minutes and then we're going to open it up and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is the last little bit of it. So our canner has cooled off. The temperature has dropped. This temperature has dropped. I have vented this for about 10 minutes just to make sure there's no blowback. And so I'm going to lift that off. Show you. Oh, already hearing it pop. Do you see how it's still boiling in there? Now you can leave it like this for a little bit more. You have to watch the fluctuations of the jars, that they not be like suddenly cold. Our house, my son keeps it at about 65 degrees. So to me that's a little bit too cold to have these jars out. But I will lift one out. This is how you do this. Okay. This. Okay. So when that's cooled down a little bit more, I am going to set this over the side, let it vent a little bit better. And then I have these, these towels right here. So I'm going to put my jars, and then I'm going to drape another towel over them. And this just helps because of the temperature in our house. As I was saying, the temperature in our house is really cold. Yours may be different. It may be more like 75 or whatever, but you're bringing boiling hot jars into a cold environment. So you want to cut down as much as you can on how it would bust maybe. So, and that's one reason why I put the towels down as well. So the countertops are stone, or like they're cold, so I don't want to put a super hot jar on something like that because it might crack the stone and it might crack and break the jar, and then all of your work that you just spent all that time and effort on is going to be gone. So I hope that you have a little bit more understanding. I hope I've given you a little bit of knowledge and maybe take your fear a little bit from pressure canning. So anyway, if you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will just, let's do life together. Maybe next time I'll do those beans or some jelly or something like that. So until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.